and you know, only to prove the truth of this assertion, I mean, this is true. I worked in the Casino de Paris, in the famous Billy Rose Casino de Paris in New York. I worked there for a full year. I did close-up magic there, and I had a cards printed, The Man Who Fooled Houdini. Now, that's a stolen idea because Thurston made his reputation The Man Who Fooled Herman. So I put The Man Who Fooled Houdini. See, I had a card printed. Very seldom I had cards, but just for a time, I tried it out. The Man Who Fooled Houdini. Now, what do you think everybody asked me? What did you fool Houdini with? I mean, they didn't care what I did, but what did you fool Houdini with? So I told the truth. I fooled him with the, which nobody knew in those times. I still have the card with HH on it, Harry Houdini. I made him initial the card. And I did the thing. Houdini boasted that nobody could fool him 3 times with the same trick. I fooled him exactly 7 times in Chicago. This was way back in 1917, so that was a long time ago. Well, anyway, I made him sign the card, HH. I still have the card in New York in my trunk there, when I left the trunk there in New York. So anyway, Harry said, well, you got 2 cards alike. I said, with your initials, Harry? And he said, but you got to have 2 cards alike. I said, well, how can I have your initials there, Harry? Oh, incidentally, this were first pens that come out. There were very few. They were very rare, these type of pen we have today.
Markers.
But they did have a few. Exclusively they were sold. So I had one of those pens, which was right on a card. So I said, Mr. Houdini, I call him, sometimes I call him Harry, but in this case there were magicians there, and I said, Mr. Houdini, I said, you ought to know that I can't duplicate, I couldn't possibly duplicate your oh, he said, you use a thumb writer, thumb writer. I said, now, Harry, how could I use a thumb writer when it's in ink? You've got one, they make them in ink now, he says. They make them in ink. Harry, so I never heard of them being made in ink, but anyway, he said they did. You can make them very easily now with a ball, the idea. But anyway, at that time, only ink was a fountain pen. So anyway, Sam Margulies, a great friend of mine, was there. And he loved Houdini, but he says, Harry, you're fooled. Oh, 3 times, 3 times. Do it again, he said, do it again. I did it again 4 times. He said, once more. He says, you got 2 cards alike. I said, I said, well, how can I have them with your initials? Well, anyway, 7 times I did the trick for Harry, and Harry said, he would never admit it, though, he was fooled. So Bessie Houdini, who was my boy's godmother, his wife, I still have the letter somewhere where she wrote me and she said, Dear Di, says, you have worried the life out of Harry because he was up half night trying to work out the trick you fooled him with. And she said, although he never made the admission, he certainly made the admission to me because he won't give up until he's solved it, see, and he tried. But anyway, wait till I want to tell you the funny thing. See how I get off at tangents? I go way running off stream or off in the ocean when I should be in the lake. Well, anyway, now this is true. When I get back.